Welcome to this Facebook Live message on how to protect your relationships during this upheaval and change right now. I'm Georgia Schaefer, and I'll tell you, I love working with people who are frustrated and stuck and help them gain momentum toward a life of meaning and purpose. But right now, it's challenging for a lot of us. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I missed doing a Facebook Live last week because I was in a lot of pain in my back, discovered I have 4 compression fractures, which I can tell you hurt. But it's a little better this week, and I've been praying for a quick recovery. So that's really not what we're focusing on today, but I wanted to share that. So what we are talking about is, again, the safeguarding our relationships, which is not always easy during times of that are upsetting. So how do we do that? Well, maybe in your state, you're still a stay-at-home. I know I am in Pennsylvania, or maybe you're slowly opening up. But regardless of where you live, things are in flux, things are changing. Uncertainty has not ended, and it impacts every part of our life. So what we want to talk about is that this relational fallout that happens right now when we're under extra stress and pressure, it's really intense. Some of you might find you're lashing out more and saying things like, just leave me alone, I need some time alone. Or others of you might be just shutting down, giving people the silent treatment, and stonewalling them. Hold on a minute, I gotta get something to drink. Sorry for that. But regardless, what measures can you take? What are some practical things to minimize hurting and harming your closest relationships? Well, the first thing is recognize. The fallout during this time, the pandemic, is huge. There's all kinds of intentional effects that we understand during times that are distressing, but there's also unintentional effects. When things are now unfamiliar, when things are always changing, what was once comfortable as far as a lifestyle, you got into a groove, is now no longer there. And this uncertainty, just adds to our ability to react in positive ways. But what you don't want to do, and we talked about this in other Facebook presentations, is you don't want to stuff your emotions or push them to the side. That only creates more problems. But adversity depletes our resources. It depletes us mentally, physically, emotionally, on every level. And when we're tired, and when we're overwhelmed, and our defenses are down, that's when we're more likely to say or do things we regret. But here's what I want you to remember. Yes, there are unhealthy relationships, but even the healthiest relationships you have in your life, they still bring pain at times. It's different than toxic relationships, but just remember, even the healthiest relationships you have hurt at times. Sometimes the truth hurts, or people are human and they say or do things that cuts deep. And then on the other hand, and this is really not what I'm talking about, there are toxic ones. People are critical, caustic, and negative and pull you down. But as much as possible, and I know it's not possible when you're living under the same roof, you want to distance yourself from those and focus, attend to the life-giving relationships you have in your life, the people who will accept you as you are and encourage you on your lifelong journey. So that's what you want to attend to as much as you possibly can. There's a term called emotional selectivity, and that means selecting what we're going to attend to, focus on emotionally. So your husband or your children might have certain habits that in the past really annoy you, are really irritating. And now when you're constantly around each other, they really get to you. And that's when you really want to lash out. But as much as possible, try to select what other places are you going to attend to and focus on. So that can help bring some of that stress and tension down in your interactions with others. So first thing is recognize there's going to be a lot of emotional fallout right now. That's normal. But the second thing, and this is really important to do, is find ways to support one another emotionally. We all have different personalities, and each of the personalities have different emotional needs. And you'd be amazed at how much it feels loving and caring when someone purposely tries to meet an emotional need. So, but what we tend to do, according to our different personalities, is when things are tough, nerve-wracking times, we tend to dig in our heels and we want to not make adjustments or adapt to situations, and we want to just be who we are. But as I'm sure some of you already know, that doesn't always work. So consider, what are the personalities of the people closest to you? Some people have that sense of adventure. They thrive in change. In fact, I even know some people that thrive during crisis. Whereas the other hand, your spouse or a close friend, they might be really struggling right now because the world seems to them very chaotic, very out of control. So for these people, you want to be really empathetic. So let me talk about what are some of the ways to meet the emotional needs of the different personalities, because this isn't always intuitive. So if you have a person in your life that's high energy, extrovert, they like to have fun even in the midst of tough times. They don't like the serious lifestyle. So allow them to do a little something that will distract them, something they enjoy, something that will lift their spirits. Also, they like to verbally process what's going on. So you might need to give them extra time to share their stories, share what's on their hearts. Because as they talk, the high energy extrovert thinks. That's how they process. Now, sometimes they do talk and then think, but give them that space to share. Listen to the stories. And then give them, that space to be spontaneous and be distracted at times. The total opposite person, on the other hand, the introvert during these challenging times, they need extra space. They always need time and space to be alone. But now they need even more space to sort through things because they're going to want to think through these challenges. How are they going to deal with the finances that are much more limited right now? How are they going to deal with all the difficult things they're facing? And this personality also likes their world organized, and they like, everything put in place, the ducks in the row, so to speak. What you don't want to do, what does not meet this personality's emotional needs, is to personally mess up whatever the area they like organized. I had one lady said, my husband likes to put the money in the wallet, in his wallet, in order. He has the ones and then the 5s, 10s, 20s, all facing forward. And she said, we love to get in his wallet and we like to mess it all up. During this challenging time right now, messing up somebody's world, that they have a certain area that they're organized, whether it be their desk, their drawer, a closet, that is not meeting their emotional needs. That's only going to add to their pressure. So they tend to be very sensitive. So again, take time to feel, what are the feelings they're feeling? The anger, the pain, the concern. maybe even shame and guilt that they can't do more during this situation. And then you might be thinking, well, George, I have this person in my life, lives with me, that's very intense, who loves control. How do I meet their emotional needs? Well, they do like control, like we just mentioned, and right now a lot of things are out of control. So if you can help them find some area where they can make a difference, some challenge that they can tackle, some new project, learn a new skill, that can help them in a big way. And because of all the personalities, this can be a bold personality. They're willing to face some of these challenges the rest of us are shrinking away from. So acknowledge what they're willing to go out there and tackle. Acknowledge what they appreciate and accomplish. That meets their emotional needs. And then finally, that lay back, kind of easygoing person, what they emotionally need right now is just time and space. Lots and lots of it. Time to chill, time to relax, time to space out, time to just be. Peace and quiet. So now is not the time to bring up all this conflict and have all these arguments, because that only adds to their inner stress. So when possible, emotionally, bring that pressure, that conflict down, and allow them lots of space to just chill out and be. Now, not only does meeting these emotional needs help the people who are closest to you, help your relationships during this difficult time, but guess what? When you are loving and caring of other people, it can't help but lift you personally and spiritually. You just feel better about yourself. It brings out the best in you. Now, if you're thinking, oh gosh, there's just so many times I don't even know how to respond. I just feel like I'm drowning in all the turmoil that's going on right now. Then just pray, because God says when you pass through the waters, I will be with you, that the rivers won't sweep over us. So just pray He sustains you. He keeps your head above the water and He helps you. So we've been talking about recognize the real relational fallout right now, and as much as possible, accept people where they are. Distance yourself from the difficult and toxic ones, if possible. Then support each other's emotional needs. What do the people in your life emotionally need right now? And then the third one is, because I am not saying in any way, you swallow all your needs, all your feelings, all your concerns and worries. And so the third point here today is communicate with others with honesty and respect. I know it's not easy, but communicate where possible with honesty and respect. And when we talk about honesty, we're starting with yourself. Did you say or do some things that maybe weren't the nicest? Are you willing to say, I'm wrong, or I made a mistake? You want to be honest with yourself, and you want to be honest with God. And don't immediately, if somebody shares something that bothers them, don't immediately start to attack them. That only, creates this backlash, and they get on the defensive, and it creates more tension. And don't immediately shift the blame or make excuses for your behavior, but just step back, pause, and reflect. How can you communicate with honesty and respect? And I'll give you a good example. Cameron and Jessica were a young couple. They had both had college degrees but couldn't find jobs in their area. So Cameron decided to go back to college and earn a trade, learn a vocation, trying, to support them financially. So 2 months before Cameron was finished with his education, he said to Jessica one night, I've been thinking, I think I'd like to go and get a teaching degree. I was looking into figuring out, I wonder how many more credits I could get, it would take to get a teaching degree. Now you have to understand, Jessica, for months, has been waiting for him to be finished. She's been supporting them financially. The burden's been on her. So the idea that he comes to her and is saying he's thinking about getting another degree, she wanted to just lash out and say something like, why don't you grow up? Help me in, dealing with these, paying our credit card bills and all the things we're facing financially. But Jessica, communicating with honesty and respect, step back. And that's sometimes what you have to do in your relationships. Postpone a conversation, gain a little distance, and ask yourself, is this something I just need to let go of? It's no big deal. Do I need to say for the 50th time you didn't load the dishwasher correctly? But this wasn't something Jessica wanted to just let go of. She knew she needed to say something. So she prayed, she reflected, and she said to Cameron, I've been really looking forward to this time when you're finished and you can get a job in this area and help me in, clearing out some of our bills, our credit card bills, meeting all the, the responsibilities we have and saving up a little bit. Now, I'm willing to talk about getting another degree, but I have to tell you right now, I'm worn out, I'm weary, and I just want some help in bringing in the money. So can we postpone this, talk about this at a future point? But right now, would you be willing to just graduate and go out and work? So that was a really polite way of saying how she honestly felt, communicating with respect. Cameron might not like it, but hopefully he did hear what she was willing to say. So, getting back to what we're talking about, finding ways, things that you can do to protect and safeguard your closest relationships during this time of change and upheaval. So what you want to do is remember, there's going to be a lot more fallout right now. That's normal, expected. Make adjustments. Realize you have to adapt and accept some things that maybe in the past you wouldn't have accepted. But again, I'm not talking about caustic, negative, critical, poisonous relationships. And then second, find ways to meet the emotional needs of the people in your life. These don't have to be big things you do, just little things like taking time to listen to a conversation. Be more sensitive, help others in your life process what they're dealing with. And then third, where possible, communicate with honesty and respect. And when you get to those times and you think, I really don't know how I'm going to respond right now, I really don't know what would be a positive way of handling this relational tension, then just pray. God's very clear in James. If any of you lack wisdom, just ask, and it will be given to you generously, without finding fault. So be willing to go to God and ask him. But I just want to thank you for being with us today. Maybe you have a topic right now you would especially like to hear me address, or you have a question. Email me at georgia@georgiaschaefer.com and tell me what you'd like me to address. And also go to georgiaschaefer.com. SHAFFER.com, because I have a lot more videos there, and there's some on YouTube at Georgia Schaefer, and I have free resources. So be sure to reach out and take advantage of those. So again, thank you for being here, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, and most importantly, stay well.